10 years. That's how long Jane tried to get pregnant. Everyone said, it's God's will. Be patient. Keep trying. But it wasn't God's will. It was someone else's. Someone who smiled at her every morning and asked, "Any news yet, my daughter?" Someone who kept asking, "Have you seen your monthly flow?" Someone she thought was just being caring. Until the house help found something hidden in her room. Jane had been married to Mike for 10 years, 10 long years of waiting, 10 years of hospital visits and doctors shaking their heads, 10 years of whispers from relatives asking, "When will you give us a child?" They lived in a beautiful house in the city, just the two of them and their house help, Mary. Mary was a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle spirit. She cleaned, she cooked, and she asked no questions. Jane trusted her. But everything changed the day Mama came to visit. Mama was Mike's mother. She was 75 years old, but strong as a woman of 50. She walked without a cane. She cooked her own meals. She needed no one to help her bathe or dress. When she smiled, her teeth were white and perfect. When she laughed, it filled the whole house. "My daughter," she called Jane, hugging her tight whenever she arrived. "I have missed you so much." Jane always smiled and hugged her back. Mama had been staying with them for 3 months now. 3 months of her humming songs in the morning. 3 months of her watching Jane with eyes that seemed to see too much. 3 months of her asking, every single month, "Any news?" And every time, Jane would shake her head and feel shame burn in her chest. It was on a Saturday morning when everything fell apart. Mike had taken Mama to visit her old friend across town. The house was finally quiet. Jane sat in the living room drinking tea and reading a book. She could hear Mary upstairs cleaning the rooms one after the other. Everywhere was peaceful. Then Mary screamed. The sound cut through the house like a knife. Jane dropped her cup. It shattered on the floor, tea spreading like a dark stain across the tiles. "Mary," Jane called, her heart pounding. No answer. Jane ran up the stairs, her legs shaking. "Mary!" "What happened? Are you all right?" She found Mary standing in the doorway of Mama's room. The girl's face was white. Her hands were trembling. Her eyes were wide with horror. "Madam," Mary whispered. "Madam, come. You need to see this." Jane's stomach twisted with fear. "What is it?" Mary could not speak. She only pointed into the room. Jane stepped inside. The room smelled like old flowers and something else, something metallic, something terrible. Jane's eyes scanned the space. The bed was made perfectly. The curtains were drawn. Everything looked normal. "Mary, what?" "Under the bed, madam," Mary said, her voice barely a breath. "Look under the bed." Jane knelt down slowly. Her hands felt cold. She lifted the edge of the bedspread and looked underneath. There, pushed far back into the shadows, was a large plastic container. Jane pulled it out. The container was not empty. Inside were dozens of used sanitary pads and tampons. They were dried and brown with old blood. Some were folded neatly. Some were rolled up tight. They filled the container almost to the top. Jane's breath stopped in her throat. "Are those—" Mary could not finish the sentence. Jane's hands shook as she opened the container wider. She looked closely at the pads. Her heart sank like a stone in deep water. They were her brands. The exact ones she used. She recognized the patterns, the colors, the way they were folded. These were hers. "Oh my God," Jane whispered. Her stomach turned. She felt sick. She felt disrespected. "How long has she been keeping them?" Mary asked, her voice filled with fear. Jane touched one of the pads. It was completely dry. Hard, even. "A long time," she said quietly. "These have been here for weeks. Maybe months." They both stared at each other. Neither of them wanted to say what they were both thinking. Why would Mama do this? What was she doing with them? Jane's mind raced. She thought about all the times she had thrown her used pads in the bathroom trash. She thought about how Mama always offered to help Mary with the cleaning. She thought about the way Mama watched her every month, asking, "Is it your time?" Your monthly time. Now she understood. Mama had been taking them, collecting them, hiding them under her bed like some dark treasure. "Madam, this is not normal," Mary said, her voice shaking. This is bad. Very bad." Jane closed the container. Her hands would not stop shaking. "Help me take this out of here." Together they carried the container downstairs. Jane placed it on the kitchen table and stared at it. She felt like she was going to be sick. "What will you tell Mr. Mike?" Mary asked. "The truth," Jane said firmly. But inside, her heart was breaking. How could she tell her husband that his mother was doing something so horrible? Would he even believe her? They waited. The house felt different now. Every shadow seemed darker. Every corner seemed to hide secrets. Jane could not stop staring at the container. She could not stop thinking about Mama's hands touching her blood. When she heard Mike's car pull into the driveway, her whole body went cold. The front door opened. Mike walked in first, laughing at something. Then Mama followed, her face bright and cheerful. "Jane, my daughter," Mama called out sweetly. "We brought you some—" She stopped. Her eyes fell on the container sitting on the kitchen table. For just 1 second, Mama's smile disappeared. Her face went hard and cold. Her eyes flashed with something dark, something dangerous. Then, just as quickly, the smile returned. "What is that?" Mama asked, her voice light and curious, as if she did not know. But Jane had seen it. That flash of darkness, that moment when the mask slipped. Jane knew the truth now. Mama was not who she pretended to be. And whatever she was doing with that blood, it was something evil. Mike looked between his mother and his wife, confused. "What's going on?" Jane took a deep breath. Her voice came out steady and strong, even though her heart was screaming. "Mike," she said slowly, "we need to talk about what your mother has been keeping in her room." The air in the house grew heavy. Outside, dark clouds covered the sun. Inside, something terrible was about to be revealed, and deep in her bones, Jane knew this was only the beginning. Mike stared at the container on the table. His face showed confusion, then shock, then something else, something that looked like fear. What is that?" he asked again. Jane pointed at the container. Her finger did not shake anymore. She felt strong now, but angry. "Open it," she said. "Open it and see for yourself." Mike walked slowly to the table. He lifted the lid. His face changed when he saw what was inside. He stepped back quickly, covering his nose. "Is that blood?" he whispered. "Not just blood," Jane said, her voice steady and cold. "Those are my used pads and tampons. Your mother has been collecting them, hiding them under her bed." Mike's eyes went wide. He looked at his mother. "Mama." "Is this true?" Mama laughed. It was a soft, gentle laugh, like a grandmother laughing at a child's silly question. "Oh, Mike, my son. You are making such a big problem out of nothing." "Nothing?" Jane's voice rose. She could not believe what she was hearing. "You have been taking my blood and hiding it in your room, and you call it nothing?" Mama waved her hand like she was brushing away smoke. "I was only trying to help you, my daughter. You throw these things away so carelessly. I was keeping them safe for you." Jane felt her anger burn hotter. "Safe? Safe for what?" "So I could dispose them properly," Mama said smoothly. She smiled at Mike, her eyes soft and innocent. "You know how it is, my son. A woman's blood is sacred. It should not be thrown in the trash like garbage. I was collecting them so I could burn them all at once." To protect Jane from bad spirits. The lie was so smooth, so perfect. Mama's face showed nothing but love and concern. Mike looked between his mother and his wife. Jane could see it in his eyes. He wanted to believe his mother. He wanted this to be simple. "See," Mike said quietly. "She was just trying to help." Jane felt her heart break into pieces. "Mike, that does not make sense. Why would she hide them? Why so many? Look at them. These have been collected for months." "I wanted them to dry properly before burning," Mama said calmly. "Wet blood does not burn well. Any village woman knows this." Mike nodded slowly. That makes sense, doesn't it?" "No," Jane shouted. "Mike, listen to yourself. Does your mother look like someone who burns trash? Where would she even burn them?" Mama's eyes flashed with anger for just a moment. Then she sighed sadly. "I see," she said softly. "My daughter does not trust me. After all I have done for this family, after all the prayers I have prayed for you to have a child," her voice cracked, "and this is how you repay me." With accusations. Tears filled Mama's eyes. She looked so hurt, so broken. Mike put his arm around his mother. "Jane, maybe you are overthinking this." "Overthinking?" Jane could not believe her ears. "Mike, she has been stealing my blood." "I was not stealing," Mama said, her voice trembling. "I was protecting you." "But if you do not want my help, fine. I will leave this house. I will go back to the village where people still respect their elders." "Mama, no," Mike said quickly. "Please do not talk like that." He turned to Jane. His face was pleading. Can we just talk about this calmly? I am sure there is a reasonable explanation." Jane looked at her husband, the man she loved, the man she had spent 10 years with, and in that moment she felt more alone than she had ever felt in her life. He did not believe her. His own mother was doing something terrible, and he could not see it. Or maybe he did not want to see it. "Fine," Jane said quietly. Her voice was cold. "Believe what you want." She turned and walked upstairs. Behind her she heard Mama crying softly. She heard Mike comforting his mother, telling her everything would be all right. But everything was not all right. And Jane knew it. That night, Jane could not sleep. She lay in bed next to Mike. He was snoring softly, peaceful and unaware. But Jane's eyes were wide open. She stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. Why would Mama collect her blood? In her heart, Jane knew the answer. She had heard stories from her grandmother, stories about women who used other women's blood for dark purposes, for witchcraft, for spells to stop pregnancy, for curses. Jane's hand moved to her stomach. 10 years, 10 years of trying, 10 years of nothing. What if it was not just bad luck? What if someone had been stopping it from happening? What if that someone was Mama? Jane turned her head and looked at the bedroom door. Down the hallway, Mama was sleeping in the guest room. Or was she sleeping? What was she doing in there? Jane could not shake the feeling that she was in danger. She looked at Mike, still sleeping peacefully. He would not help her. He had made that clear. So she would have to help herself. The next morning, Jane waited until Mike left for work. Then she went to find Mary. Mary was in the kitchen, washing dishes. When she saw Jane, her face filled with worry. "Madam, what happened last night?" Mary asked quietly. "I heard shouting." Jane closed the kitchen door. She spoke in a low voice. "Mary, I need your help. I need you to watch Mama. Tell me if you see her doing anything strange." Mary's hands stopped moving. She looked frightened. "Madam, I do not want trouble. Please," Jane begged. "I know something is wrong. I can feel it. But Mike does not believe me. You are the only one I can trust." Mary was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I will watch her," she whispered. "But madam, I must tell you something." "What?" Mary looked around nervously, as if Mama might be listening. "I have seen her before. At night, she leaves her room when everyone is sleeping. She goes to the bathroom. She stays there for a long time. I hear her whispering. Jane's blood ran cold. Whispering. Whispering what? I do not know. It is not English. It is not any language I know. It sounds like chanting. The two women looked at each other. They did not need to say it out loud. They both knew. Mama was doing something evil in this house. We need proof, Jane said. Real proof that Mike cannot deny. Mary nodded. What do you want me to do? Tonight, Jane said firmly. Tonight we will watch her. The day passed slowly. Mama acted completely normal. She cooked lunch. She watched television. She smiled and laughed and called Jane, my daughter, like nothing had happened. But Jane saw things she had not noticed before. She saw how Mama's eyes followed her everywhere, how Mama always asked what she was eating, where she was going, when her monthly cycle would come. She saw how Mama touched her things, her cup, her chair, her clothes, always touching, always watching. When dinner time came, Jane could barely eat. Her stomach was twisted with fear and anger. Are you not hungry, my daughter? Mama asked sweetly. You must eat. You are looking so thin these days. How will you carry a baby if you do not eat? Jane wanted to scream. Instead, she smiled. I am just tired, Mama. Mama said, her eyes sharp. You should rest well tonight. A woman needs her strength. The way she said strength made Jane's skin crawl. That night, Jane pretended to go to bed early. Mike kissed her forehead and told her to sleep well. She closed her eyes and waited. She waited until Mike fell asleep. She waited until the house was completely silent. Then she opened her eyes. It was time to find out the truth. Jane slipped out of bed quietly. She opened her bedroom door just a crack. The hallway was dark. She could see a thin line of light coming from under Mama's door. Mama was still awake. Jane's heart pounded. She heard soft footsteps. Mary appeared from the shadows, her eyes wide with fear. Jane put her finger to her lips. Together they crept down the hallway toward Mama's room. The light under Mama's door went out suddenly. Jane and Mary froze. They heard Mama's door open. They pressed themselves against the wall, hidden in the darkness. Mama stepped out into the hallway. She was wearing a long white nightgown. In her hand, she carried something small, something that glowed faintly in the dark. Mama walked past them. She did not see them. She moved like a ghost, silent and smooth, toward the bathroom. Jane and Mary waited. Then, moving as quietly as shadows, they followed. When they reached the bathroom door, they heard it. Mama's voice, low and rhythmic, speaking words that were not English. Words that sounded strange, words that sounded wrong. Jane's hand shook as she slowly pushed the bathroom door open, just an inch. What she saw made her blood turn to ice. Mama was kneeling on the floor. In front of her was a small red cloth spread out carefully. On the cloth were items that made no sense. A broken egg, black thread, pieces of paper with strange symbols, and in the center of it all, Jane's used pads and tampons. Mama was holding one up to the light of a small candle. She was speaking to it, praying over it. Her voice was filled with hatred. No child, Mama whispered in the darkness. No child will grow in this womb. No child will take my son from me. This blood I bind, this womb I close. No child, no child, no child. Jane's hand flew to her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Mary grabbed her arm, pulling her back. They ran. They ran back to Jane's room and closed the door, both of them shaking with terror. Jane could not breathe. She could not think. All she could see was Mama's face in the candlelight. All she could hear were those terrible words. No child will grow in this womb. 10 years. 10 years of trying. 10 years of hoping. 10 years of doctors telling her there was nothing wrong, and it had been Mama all along. Jane sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Mary sat beside her, crying too. "What are we going to do?" Mary whispered. "She will know we saw her." Jane wiped her tears. Her sadness was turning into something else now, something stronger. Rage. "Tomorrow," Jane said, her voice hard as stone. "Tomorrow Mike will see the truth, even if I have to drag him to that bathroom myself." But what Jane did not know was this. Mama already knew they had been watching, and Mama was not finished yet. Jane did not sleep that night. She sat in bed watching the door, waiting for morning to come. Next to her, Mike slept peacefully, not knowing that his mother was a monster. When the sun finally rose, Jane's decision was made. Today, Mike would see the truth, even if it destroyed their marriage, even if it broke his heart. She would not live one more day in this house with that evil woman. But when morning came, something was wrong. Jane felt sick. Her head was spinning. Her stomach was turning. She tried to stand up, but her legs were weak. She fell back onto the bed. "Jane?" Mike woke up and looked at her with concern. "Are you all right?" I do not feel well," Jane whispered. The room was spinning around her. Mike touched her forehead. "You are burning up. You have a fever." Jane tried to speak, but her mouth felt dry. Her body felt heavy, like something was pressing down on her chest. "I will get Mama," Mike said. "She will know what to do." "No," Jane tried to shout, but it came out as a whisper. "Not Mama." But Mike was already gone. Jane lay in bed, her mind racing. This was not a normal sickness. This had started the morning after she saw Mama's ritual. The morning after Mama knew she had been discovered. Mama had done something to her. The door opened. Mama walked in, carrying a tray with a cup of tea. She smiled sweetly, but her eyes were cold. "My poor daughter," Mama said softly. "You look so weak. Here, drink this. It will make you feel better." Jane stared at the cup. The tea was dark and smelled strange, like herbs and something else. "No," Jane said, turning her head away. "Drink it," Mama said again. Her voice was still sweet, but there was steel underneath. "You must drink it to get strong again." "I said no." Jane's voice was stronger now. She pushed the cup away. It fell to the floor, tea spilling everywhere. Mama's smile disappeared. For a moment, her face showed pure hatred. Then Mike rushed into the room. "What happened?" he asked. "I heard something break." "Your wife is being difficult," Mama said, her voice tight. "I made her healing tea, and she threw it on the floor like a child." Mike looked at Jane. "Why would you do that?" "Mama is just trying to help." Jane wanted to scream. She wanted to tell him everything. But her head was too fuzzy. Her words would not come out right. "Mike," she whispered, "please listen to me." "You need to rest," Mike said firmly. "You are not thinking clearly." He turned to his mother. "Mama, can you make another cup? I will make sure she drinks it this time." Mama smiled. "Of course, my son. Anything for family." She left the room. Jane grabbed Mike's hand with all her strength. "Mike, please," she begged, "do not let me drink that tea." "Your mother is poisoning me." Mike pulled his hand away. He looked angry now. "Jane, stop. My mother would never hurt you. You need to stop saying these terrible things about her." "Then come with me," Jane said desperately. "Come to the bathroom. I will show you proof, the ritual, the items, the—" "Enough," Mike shouted. "I do not want to hear any more of this madness. You are sick, and you are seeing things that are not there." Jane felt tears run down her face. "You do not believe me." "How can I?" Mike said, his voice breaking. "You are accusing my mother of witchcraft, my mother, who has done nothing but love us and pray for us to have a child. Do you know how crazy you sound?" Before Jane could answer, there was a knock on the door. Mary stood there, her face pale with fear. "Mr. Mike," she said quietly, "I need to speak with you. It is important." "Not now, Mary," Mike said tiredly. "It is about Mama," Mary continued, her voice shaking. "I need to show you something. In the bathroom. Right now." Mike looked at Mary, then at Jane. Something in Mary's face made him pause. "Fine," he said finally. "Show me." They all walked to the bathroom. Jane leaned on the wall for support. Her body was so weak now, but she had to see this. She had to see Mike's face when he saw the truth. Mary opened the bathroom door. The red cloth was still there, spread on the floor. The candle was burned down to nothing. The broken egg had turned black. And in the center, Jane's pads and tampons lay in a circle, covered with strange symbols drawn in something dark. Mike stood frozen in the doorway. What is this?" he whispered. "This is what your mother does at night," Mary said. "This is what she has been doing for months, maybe years." Mike stepped into the bathroom slowly, like he was walking in a dream. He knelt down and looked at the items. His hand trembled as he picked up one of the pieces of paper. On it were words written in a language he did not know, but the hatred in those words. He could feel it. "No," he said softly. "No, this cannot be." "Your mother has been cursing your wife," Mary said, her voice steady now. "She has been using Madam's blood to stop her from having children. I saw her. We saw her. Last night, she was praying over these things, saying terrible words." Mike looked at Jane. His face was white with shock. "Is this true?" Jane nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I tried to tell you, but you would not listen." Mike stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. His whole body was shaking. "Where is she? Where is my mother?" They found Mama in the kitchen preparing another cup of tea. She was humming softly to herself, a little smile on her face. "Mama," Mike said. His voice was cold, colder than Jane had ever heard it. Mama turned around. When she saw all three of them standing there, her smile faded. "Yes, my son." "What have you done?" Mike asked quietly. "What have you done to my wife?" Mama's face changed. The sweet mother disappeared. What remained was something hard, something cruel. "I did what was necessary," she said simply. "Necessary?" Mike's voice rose. "You call cursing my wife necessary?" "Yes," Mama shouted suddenly. Her voice filled the kitchen like thunder. "Yes, it was necessary. Because she was trying to take you from me." The room went silent. "I am your mother," Mama continued, her eyes wild. "I carried you in my womb. I gave you life. I raised you alone after your father died. You are mine, mine alone." "Mama, I am not a child anymore," Mike said. "You will always be my child," Mama screamed. "And I will not let some woman come and take you away from me. Not her, not anyone." Jane felt sick, not from whatever Mama had done to her, but from the terrible truth she was hearing. "Was there someone before, Madam?" Mary asked suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Mr. Mike, did you have a serious girlfriend before your wife?" Mike's face went pale. "Why do you ask?" Mike asked calmly. "I have heard stories like this in the past," Mary answered. "What happened to her?" Mary asked. Mike was quiet for a long moment. She disappeared. We were going to get married. She was pregnant. But then she lost the baby, and a week later she vanished. No one ever saw her." Jane felt her heart stop. "And your mother was with you during that time?" Mike nodded slowly, his face filled with horror as he realized the truth. "She came to stay with us, to help take care of my girlfriend after she lost the baby. She said she wanted to help." "But she did not help," Mary said softly. She cursed that girl, too, made her lose the baby. And when the girl found out, what do you think happened to her? They all turned to look at Mama. Mama was standing very still now. Her face showed no emotion, no guilt, no shame. She was going to take my son away, Mama said calmly, so I made sure she could not. Just like I made sure this one could not give you children, because you belong to me. Mike stepped back from his mother like she was a snake. You killed her? Mama smiled. It was a terrible smile, empty and cold. I did what any mother would do. I protected my child. You are not protecting me, Mike shouted. You are destroying me. You have been destroying my life for years. Everything I did for love. That is not love, Mike's voice broke. That is evil, pure evil. He turned to Jane, tears running down his face. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened. Jane could not speak. She could only hold her husband as he cried. But Mama was not finished. She picked up the cup of tea from the counter. Her hands were steady. You will change your mind, she said softly. After Jane is gone, you will see that I was right. You will see that... She took a step forward. Mike moved faster than he had ever moved. He knocked the cup from his mother's hand. It shattered on the floor. You will not touch my wife again, he said, his voice filled with steel. You will leave this house right now, and you will never come back. You cannot throw me out, Mama shrieked. I am your mother. You stopped being my mother the day you started hurting the people I love, Mike said. Get out. Now. Mama looked at her son. She looked at Jane. She looked at Mary. Her face was twisted with sadness. You will regret this, she whispered. You will all regret this. But Mike did not move. He stood like a wall between Mama and Jane. Finally, Mama turned and walked out of the kitchen. They heard her go to her room. They heard her packing her things. And then they heard the front door slam. She was gone. They never saw Mama again. But Jane and Mike did not care. They were free. 2 days after Mama left, Mike and Jane became more intentional about praying. They prayed without ceasing. They prayed because they recognized you don't have all the answers, but you are turning to a higher power for guidance, peace, and intervention. Their home became more peaceful. 6 weeks later, Jane stood in the bathroom, staring at a small white stick in her hand. 2 pink lines. She was pregnant. After 10 years, after all the pain and the waiting and the curses, she was finally pregnant. Mary had helped her cleanse the house. They had burned everything of Mama's. They had prayed. They had washed every corner with blessed water. And now, life was growing inside her. When she told Mike, he cried. He held her tight and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for being strong when I was weak." Jane held him back and said nothing, because she knew the truth. She had not been strong. She had been terrified. But she had trusted her spirit when it told her something was wrong. She had listened to that small voice inside that said, "This is not right." And that small voice had saved her life. Mary smiled at them both, with tears of joy on her face. Our people have a saying, "The serpent in your home is more dangerous than the one in the forest." Evil does not always look like a monster. Sometimes it stands as family. Sometimes it wears a grandmother's face. Sometimes it smiles and calls you daughter. Sometimes it hides behind the word love. But true love does not curse. True love does not poison. True love does not seek to control and destroy. Jane learned this truth the hard way, but she learned it in time. If your spirit tells you something is wrong, listen to it, even when everyone else says you are crazy, even when the people you love do not believe you, because sometimes the person trying to hurt you is the last person anyone would suspect. And sometimes the only thing standing between you and destruction is your own brave heart. Trust it. May we all have the courage to see evil, even when it wears a familiar face. And may we have the strength to stand against it, no matter the cost. Thank you for watching. Please support me by liking, subscribing, and sharing. See you in the next one.